Do you think it's possible to remove a car loan from your credit report, even though you're still making payments? You might be surprised what the lawyer has to say about this.
I have one thing left on my report that I'm trying to get off. And I just want to know, I mean, because I'm not the one to say to take no for an answer. So, when they say verify, okay, prove it to me. But I just want to know if I'm using the information the right way or if I'm using it in the right contents. So, from what my understanding is, that you can get anything deleted from your credit report, including open accounts. I have a car note and I don't want it on my credit report. And so I've sent them like 3 letters asking them to remove the account from my credit report. And so I'm not saying that, I'm not going to pay. I'm just saying that I don't want the account reported. And so I based it off of um, the Graham Leach Bailey Act. And as far as them giving me my disclosures, letting me know or giving me the opportunity to opt out of this information being reported. So I put that in the letters to them. And each time they sent a response back saying, we are reporting this account correctly and it's going to continue to report. And so now, so I want to know, A, did I use the right information when I sent them the letter? And B, can this be deleted from my credit report?
Well, Robin, you bring up some really important points that we're about to talk about. So, number one, anything can be deleted.
Okay.
Because I'm going to explain to you what the dispute process actually looks like behind the scenes. That's the good news.
Okay.
The bad news is, no, you don't have a proper basis to get that deleted. That act doesn't say that. And more importantly, your contract with your car note company requires credit reporting. And unless they report inaccurate or incomplete information about that account, there's nothing we're going to be able to do legitimately based on the law. But let me explain how, when I say that anything can be removed, because when I describe to you all what actually happens behind the scenes when you dispute something, it's going to make you fall out of your chair.
Okay.
So let me give a real quick 10,000-foot view of what it means when you dispute. Okay. So there's 4 to 5 primary methods that you can dispute right now. You can send a letter. You can do it on the phone. You can send a fax. You can do it through the CFPB. And you can also do it through the FTC in certain circumstances.
Okay.
So I send a letter, a phone call, fax, something to these bureaus. Let me explain this process. So I can send a 20-page letter, and they're still going to distill it down to 3 characters. I can send a 6-minute voice, conversation about what's going on. Every dispute is categorized by these companies down to 3 characters. It's usually a letter and then 2 digits, 2 numbers. And that's supposed to tell what your dispute is about.
Right.
And so what happens is all your information gets down to those 3 characters. And that's done by a computer. Right now, it's done by a lot of AI. Before they were sending stuff overseas, and they still do that, which I'm going to explain. So you start a dispute. You say, hey, I don't want this on my credit report. I don't give you permission. I'm opting out. And again, that's not what that statute says. But nonetheless, a computer read that information and took it down to a letter and 2 digits. And then it ships that 3-digit code to the computer that's furnishing the information. That's the debt collector or the car note company. And all it does, its computer looks at those same 3 pieces of information and says, oh, no, yeah, we're reporting right, and shoots an information just an information signal back that says, okay, verify. And usually that's just one digit, like a 1 or a 2 or a 3. There's seldom any human involvement. There's no concerning review of the information. It's almost always automated. So that's the reason why real disputes that have real validity, if there's an ID theft issue or past statute of limitations or you settled an account, that's why they verify everything, is because it's almost always just one computer talking to another. Now, the reason why I ultimately said it can be deleted is because those systems get overwhelmed. And when the computer queues fill up, it does get sent to live agents in the Philippines or in India and some other countries, but they're all overseas. And that's only when there's an overflow. Those people make mistakes. They might look at a letter and say, hey, that looks impressive. She cited a statute and just hit the delete button because they're getting paid 37 cents an hour and they don't care.
Wow.
So that's why I started by saying everything can be deleted, because depending on the person or the computer or the process, that's going to determine who is actually doing the quote investigation. And this is the funny part. The law says you have to perform a reasonable investigation.
Right.
Well, how is that reasonable when it's just one computer talking to another about 3 digits? So great question, Robin. It allowed me to kind of talk about the dispute process. It is set up to fail. It's why I have a job, because if all the disputes worked, I couldn't sue them. But yeah, the system is set up to just agree with the original reporter. And let's talk about why. Do you know how Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, they make their money? Do you,
Well,
have you ever paid them?
I believe I know how. Yeah, they make their money because companies pay them to report the information.
Amen, Robin. It's like we set that up before tonight. That's exactly right. They make a little bit of money when you pay them for those monitoring products that you should never do, by the way. Never, ever. But we can talk about that in a minute, but never enter an agreement with these companies, because they're going to make you arbitrate. They're going to sneak fine print against you. That's going to take rights away from you. But yeah, they make their money, the billions of dollars, because Capital One is paying them 10, 20, $30 million a year. Every time Capital One sends them information about you, they have to pay them a little bit of money. So who are they going to agree with? If you reach out to them and say, I'm right, Capital One's wrong, but Capital One is paying them $10 million a year, are they going to agree with you? Or are they going to agree with their partner? So the system's set up to fail. It's why like lawyers like me are so important, to get connected to people like you and consumers and other, people like Dave and Mike, because the system's set up to fail. And as a consumer, you're going against billion-dollar corporations who hire $1,000 an hour lawyers who have glass mansion firms in the biggest cities in the world. And it's David versus Goliath. But yeah, they don't make their money from me or you. They make their money from the companies. So of course they agree with them.
Right.
Set up to fail. So
Okay. So I'm trying to get my other question in before my battery, because I'm literally on red.
all right.
Okay. So with that being said, right? So Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. What about check systems? So check systems, I know they're a specialty, credit reporting agency, and so to get out of check systems, you go through the dispute process. And so what if you've disputed and they send you a copy of the contract from the bank, but the account is charged off?
Great question.
So how do you get that off?
So it kind of goes back to my previous answer. It depends on the nature of what they're reporting. So you brought up a really good point. So everyone knows about the big 3 credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. They're the ones that everyone's most familiar with. But what might shock you is there's over 250 credit reporting agencies.
I know that.
And actually there's significantly more, depending on how you want to look at it. But there's credit reporting agencies about whether you've ever slipped and fallen in a supermarket and sued someone. every insurance claim that you make, there's a credit report about you.
Mhm.
Every checking account, savings account, those are called demand deposit accounts.
Mhm.
There are credit reports about you, and check systems is one of them. And
Mhm.
so think of check systems just like the big three: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. When you open your account with your bank, all that fine print gave them the right contractually to report to check systems or to anyone they want to, frankly.
Okay.
And the law says as long as they report accurately and completely, there's nothing we can do about it. So if the information they're reporting to check systems is accurate and complete, other than the description I gave earlier, when someone gets overworked or it slips through the cracks, you confuse them enough that your dispute looks legitimate and then someone deletes it. It just goes back to the law says they're allowed to report as long as there's a basis for them to. And that basis is always going to be some contract, generally speaking, or you fall behind in debt, like a medical debt doesn't necessarily have a contract, but the law also says in order to debt collect, they can use a credit report. So that's how you get collections on the credit reports. There's no contract necessarily, but the law allows them to do that. So the basis of any type of dispute, whether it's check systems, fishing license credit report, which exists, by the way. If you ever overfished a lake and taken too many, you take 8 bass when you're only allowed to take 6, there's a credit report that says this person, if they ever want to get a fishing license in your state, you might not want to give them that. So, but no matter what, background checks, your big 3 credit reports. I saw someone put in the chat here, LexisNexis. They are a massive credit reporting agency, particularly about insurance mostly. But any of these, the basis to dispute has to be the information is inaccurate, incomplete, or too old and can't be reported. Unless it's one of those 3 things, you got to get lucky.
Okay. And then one more. Early warnings. That's the same as check system.
It is. Yep.
Okay.
They're a specialty demand deposit reporting agency. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Hold up. If you haven't heard, finally, we're back doing credit, but a little bit different. Yes, we have a litigation service where we're suing the credit bureaus, we're suing these debt collectors, anybody that violates your rights, and we're trying to permanently delete that thing off your credit report. So if you feel like you've been a victim and you want to talk to me and my team, all you have to do is just schedule an appointment, click the link, the pinned comment, and I'll see you on the call.